You heard about the struggles of Giannis and the Bucks, of course Embiid and the Sixers, the struggling King in LA, and even the Joker, who's wasting one of the best seasons ever dragging his poorly constructed Denver Nuggets. These are some rough starts to a season, but are they as rough as Zion Williamson and the Pelicans? Ranked number 16 in ESPN's NBA 25 under 25, it's easy to forget that coming into the league, he's easily the most hyped American player since LeBron. And even if you weren't as into the NBA as you are now, 5 years ago, the hype was as palpable as it gets.
This is what they got to do. They want to get this game over with. Just go to the big fella.
The viral dunks, the freakish blocks, the shattered shoes, the rattled rims, and the injured egos had writers running out of hyperboles and made us ecstatic for what's to come at the NBA level. If 5 years ago, you couldn't help yourself and just be drawn to his highlights, it's okay. All of us did. This guy was the next big thing. I mean, if you're just 19 games into your career, you already had the Jordan Brand contract locked for the next 7 years and, more notably, became the cover of NBA 2K21. You must really be doing something. For context, Jason Tatum had to win a championship, win All-Star MVP, and be on the USA Olympic team just to be on a magazine cover. But the hype was worth it. The guy was a beast in high school, averaging 32 points, 11.8 rebounds, 3 steals, 3 blocks, on 72% from the field. And just in his senior year, 36.4 points per game, to go along with 11.4 rebounds, 3.5 dimes, 3.4 steals, and 2.3 blocks in 23.4 minutes. To further prove doubters wrong, his numbers in his lone season in Duke were one of the best seasons in college ever, averaging 22.6 points, 8.9 rebounds, 2.1 steals, 1.8 blocks, on 68% from the field, playing 30 minutes. Over the years, the line "better than advertised" has somewhat lost its meaning. But after an almost unfair build-up around him, leading up to his first game versus the Spurs, he certainly was just that, better than advertised. With less than 10 minutes left in the game, he made a personal 17-point run, shooting 6 for 7 from the field, while knocking down 4 threes. This is in a span of 8 minutes and 3 seconds. But numbers as spectacular as they are boring compared to what he's actually doing on the courts. The violent dunks, the insane blocks, how he bullies grown men in the paint, and Giannis was no exception. Yeah, his first year was way better than anyone could have expected. But that said, after 6 years teasing us with flashes of greatness from time to time, crazy highlights, 2 All-Star appearances, and a 5-year, $197.2 million contract, he still has us feeling disappointed and got me questioning, what is going on with Zion? My oversimplistic answer is he's probably confused. Well, mainly baffled by how far his career has fallen. Of course, that could mean different things in varying degrees, coming from different factors and angles. Weighing all that, let's go through some of the things that maybe Zion Williamson is perplexed about right now. Let's just start with the elephant in the room. Pun slightly intended. Let's start with the obvious. Can he actually make it back? I know that's a loaded question, so let's take it little by little. If we are talking about how Zion once qualified it,
when I feel like Zion,
I guess that is almost as good as gone. This is really sad, but I don't think he can regain the athleticism he had in college, let alone in those crazy high school mixtapes. I mean, those second jumps right after he misses might actually be gone. Those glides toward the basket from weird angles and early jumps from spots on the floor that nobody would even dare might actually be gone as well, or at least significantly declined, especially with the recent development, according to Shams Charania, that he will be out indefinitely. There really is little to no hope in sight. Well, mainly because his health struggles in the past up to now have consistently been tied to his ability or inability to lose weight. I mean, his contract was loaded with weight and health clauses in hopes that he could address this concern. Yet, even with that effort, we've seen no significant improvement from Zion's commitment to staying in shape. All these things lead me to ask, is he taking this thing seriously? I mean, that Mariah Mills matter also happened not so long ago. How did that happen? How serious is he about his stardom and the demands of it? Now, do I think he can actually be back? I am really skeptical about that. But am I still on Zion Island? Man, call me naive if you want, but I just can't give up on him. I guess I'm just not yet ready to give up on a player who has not turned 25 years old and already had 2 consecutive seasons that averaged 25-plus points on 60% shooting. The closest thing? A 29-year-old Kevin McHale in his lone fringe MVP season. Yes, he is rarely healthy, but when he is, there's no stopping him. He is the personification of brutality. But given his injury history and how these things compound, maybe he may no longer be in the face of the league conversations, even best USA-born player chatters, considering how loaded with young talents the league has become. This leads me to the second thing that Zion might also be pondering right now. Is this the team for him? And yeah, I know the Pelicans are also asking the same thing about him. But 18 losses before they can even reach 5 wins to start the season? And though Zion's injury is an enormous reason for their struggles this season, come on, man. This bad? He might as well be asking if this team is cursed. Yeah, AD and CP3, 2 of the top 75 players of all time, traded their way out of this team. But I'm talking specifically about this year. I mean, right before the start of the season, your deemed co-star, Brandon Ingram, is having a contract dispute with your team. And that is coming from months of hearing of trading him. More importantly, if to start the season your team lost 8 of your top players, including Brandon Ingram, their veteran shot creator CJ McCollum, their up-and-coming star Trey Murphy, their top role players Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins, and their off-season splash, DeJounte Murray. Wow, that's more of an infirmary than a basketball team. To drop a little more salt to an already gruesome wound, the player your team traded away, Dyson Daniels, just became a fantasy darling, averaging career highs across the board, winning Defensive Player of November, while his team is tied for last in defensive rating. Try to let that sink in and tell me that this team is not under some spell. But the harsher reality is, even when they're healthy, this team's best players don't seem to maximize each other's strength. Among the Pelicans lineups with over 400 minutes together, the fit of Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum had been clunky, to say the least. The 3, even with their individual brilliance, had a negative 1.5 net rating. Now, they have made the playoffs for the first time since Zion's arrival last year, and mainly because they have staggered their minutes along with role players to maximize their strengths and somewhat mask their deficiencies. But it's worth asking, is this the best avenue for him to be maximized? The most commanding Zion that we have seen is point Zion. That Zion is ideally surrounded by top-of-the-line movement shooters that can maximize the space he operates in, and smart, intuitive cutters that are capable of slanting defenses, giving Zion different angles to attack. The lineups with the type of players that I just described supercharge the already unstoppable force that Zion is. The Bucks and Giannis won with this blueprint. Less similar, yet very much alike, are the Heatles and LeBron in the early 2010s. He might never take back some of his lost power, but a diminished Zion in an ideal situation is still a very powerful Zion. His burst and bounce in that broad body would still be unstoppable for most opponents. While he may no longer explode like he used to, a limited version of him could still rampage against most walls of defense if shooters and cutters give him a good enough runway and room to operate. Would that be the Pelicans? Well, he's probably contemplative about it right now. But what's probably still agitating to think about, yet he can't keep off his mind, is how CAA failed him. You probably heard of it. Zion Williamson just split with his representation of the CAA. If you don't know, this is one of the most powerful representations in the association. But as important, if not the most important thing to remember, is that this specific representation has strong links with the Knicks. I mean, it's obvious he really wanted to play for them. We have several quotes and interviews to show for that.
I mean, New York is the mecca of basketball. I love playing here. Honestly, I think outside of New Orleans, obviously, I think this might be my favorite place to play outside of New Orleans. I can't even lie to you. I can't lie to you.
And watching the Knicks make not one but two giant moves this offseason while he sat there wondering that should have been me must really hurt. Add to that the fact that he's now injured, making it nearly impossible for him to meet the number of games that he should play and the permissible weight in his contract. The guy is certainly infuriated by the thought of the CAA failing to have him a more favorable contract. With all that being said, let's lighten the mood and end this video with some fun Zion moments, shall we?
J.J. Redick, good contest by Harrell, but Redick drills. Jackson Hayes with an offensive board. They have an easy schedule in the second half of the season.
So what do you think? Can Zion still prove he can be one of the big faces of this league? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.